Good evening, everybody. Welcome to First Church of Religious Science here in New York City. Welcome to everybody on our Zoom call, everyone who's signing in right now, and all of you who are watching us on YouTube and watching us on Facebook, on any of the social media stations. We get all your messages. The only thing I would suggest is send us your email and your phone number, and we'll do our best to reach out to you so you receive our e-letter, and also you'll get all of our invitations. So I want to welcome everybody to this class. This class has been going on for years. It's our self-healing class. It's our Louise Hay class. It's really a little bit deeper often than the Louise Hay work that I've been presenting for years, because I mix in a good deal of Ernest Holmes work as well. So I can see all the faces who are signing in. And again, welcome. We do this class every Thursday night at 7. We also have a class Wednesday evenings, which is part of our Creative Living series. That has Jimmy's the main facilitator, and oftentimes he will get guest speakers as well. So it's the same Zoom link. You're all welcome to attend. And Sunday mornings we meet at 10:45, where we have our meditation, followed by our lesson. We gather for our lesson, which starts approximately 11 or 11:05. So you're all welcome. You're all invited. The classes we provide, our gatherings are free. So please invite your friends, invite your family. We are a virtual church with a studio audience, which means you're always welcome to come into our building at 204 West 84th Street. And anytime that we're broadcasting, you're welcome. Come in and have a chat with us, and we look forward to seeing you in the building, and we look forward to seeing you here online in our virtual community. So the other thing is, if anyone desires to support the church financially, in the chat, there's always options where you can donate any amount of money you want, but it's not required. So the main thing is that you're here and you know that you're welcome. If you have the means to support the center at all, again, we thank you, but it's certainly not required. So let's go to Louise Hay for a moment. First thing to know is that she definitely was a part of First Church. She actually got her education here. She learned of the science of mind here. She took her classes here, and she started working as a practitioner here. So many of the ideas that you'll see in You Can Heal Your Life, or any of her material, come from the science of mind, come from Ernest Holmes. And when she was working as a practitioner, her notes and the things in her that she put together for both of her first two books came out of the work that she initially was doing here at First Church. Louise possessed a gift that's undeniable. I always knew it right from the beginning, and I thought, my gosh, she's teaching the teaching in such a way that everybody can understand it. So she made it understandable for everyone. I remember taking classes, and some of the senior people were thinking, who is this person? She's making it easy. And that's extraordinary. That was her gift, because she reached... No one really knows the number of people. We know 65, 66 million books were sold, but that's just part of the story, because, those books have been read many times by many people, and they've circled the world in, many languages. And then she had a publishing company called the Hay House, where she launched a lot of New Thought authors. So her value, her worth, in terms of her contribution to the world, really can't be calculated. I'm grateful that I found her in the beginning, and I was able to utilize her information and present it in every type of venue that you can practically imagine. And one day I'll tell you all those stories. I've shared bits and pieces of them before. The thing that I can tell you is it works. And there's an old adage from 12-step programs: it works if you work it. Meaning, it's one thing to get the information, but it's another thing to stay with it and to practice it. So I'll talk a little bit about that this evening. But it's so good that we're able to come together and everybody has an inkling of the idea that you exist as pure potential, that you're inlets and outlets of this divine activity, that there's power you have available within you that you can use. So I'll get into bits and pieces of it. You can never all do it in one evening. But the thing is, we come together week after week. And if some of us come together 2 or 3 times a week, just to keep reminding ourselves of who we are, the truth of who we are, that we're connected with something amazing. That thing that we're connected to is the thing itself. It's this spiritual energy. It's in you. It's operating through you. And you can learn how to use it. You can learn how to use it for your benefit. You can learn how to use it to make your life simpler. You can learn how to use it to prosper. You can learn how to use it to heal your life. So we'll talk a little bit about it here and there. And I'd like you to approach these Thursdays just with an open heart and open mind. You don't have to try to learn it all at once. You don't have to run off and get 100 other books, because we're just going to keep presenting the ideas, because everything you need is already within you. So we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be encouraging you to trade in, say, old ideas or lesser ideas for new ideas and greater ideas. And you get to pick and choose. It's up to you. So we're not going to ever tell you what to think, but we're going to keep reminding you of some pretty big ideas. I encountered this teaching by way of unity first, and then religious science. But I've gone to both interchangeably, and I've studied both interchangeably. And one of the best unity people I used to know was Bill Cameron. And he said, the best kept secret of the age or the ages is this thing that's inside of you. Ernest Holmes would call it the thing itself in the Science of Mind textbook. But the unity minister who I was so fond of said the best kept secret of the age, he said, is God in you, the hope of your glory. And so he broke it down so we could all understand it. You know, people have been searching for this higher power to the most remote places in the planet, every type of quest, and everything, everything in the world. Everyone's looking for the thing. It reminds me of the Wizard of Oz. They're all off to, find it. But in the end, like in the story with Dorothy, as she clicks her slippers, there's no place like home. In the end, you realize that everything you're looking for is already at hand. The kingdom, if you will, is at hand. It's in you. It's operating through you. Now, that's hard for you to believe because you look at your life, you might say, oh my God, my life is, you might think a mess or a disaster. And, everybody's evolving. We're all, as was said to me some 30 years ago, we're evoluting. We're all evoluting along. We're all evolving. And Louise Hay would say, all is well. All is well. So you can try that on for this evening. See how that feels for yourself. All is well. I know we have a lot of people that worry about a lot of things, and maybe we can help you let go of some of that worrying in some of our classes. So let me get into my lesson. I'm just going to skip around tonight, I think, rather than doing a formal, this was a part of a seminar. Our New Thought, we're part of the New Thought movement, religious science. And, the people who are in our teaching, who really practice the teaching, are called practitioners. Anybody who's actively learning how to do affirmative prayer and working with affirmations, you're starting to practice. So you're learning to become practitioners of this teaching. Our formal practitioners used to have to go 4 years of school, sometimes 5 years of classes. And as some of you know, the curriculum would be, we would read world religions, we would learn about the early mystics, New Thought authors, and all of that. And then along came Louise Hay, who had the education, and she said to the world that you don't really need all of that. She said, it's all very simple. And you hear me use that word often. If you study her books, you'll hear her use it often. She said, what you give out comes back to you. It's all very simple. I recently read a review of her book. There's also a foreword of one of her editions where someone says something very similar. Several comments. People would say if they were stranded on a deserted island and they could only have one book, and as you would suspect or guess, they said they would like to have the book You Can Heal Your Life. I know that book changes everything and changes people's lives because I've worked with it, with many people, many clients, every kind of group you can imagine. And I purchased hundreds and hundreds of the book, both new and old copies for friends and clients. When I was a therapist, I gave them away to just about everybody. And for those who read it, and especially for those who practiced it, it made a huge difference. It's really better if you read the material and you get involved in a gathering such as this, because this group is always going to stay on point with every single broadcast. We're going to keep reminding one another. The challenge for all of us is to keep coming from that place of connection. A lot of people, will tell you that I had Louise Hay, I studied Louise Hay, and I studied the science of mind, and then I stopped reading it. And I say that because it's what we do. We have a tendency to start and stop, and start and stop. And if you've done that, that's okay. I've done it myself. I haven't stopped for long, though, over the years. The more you can stay with it, the more you're going to start to see results. So if you've got a good foundation, that's great. If it's new to you, I just want to welcome you here to the group and know that you're in the right place. We're always in the perfect place, the perfect time. So our work and the purpose of our group is to wake everybody up. Some of you are awake, but the rest of you, we want to awaken you for you to know that you are an individualization of this divine stuff. And for the rest of us, we want to stay awake for longer periods of time. And if we find that we go off track, we want to reawaken as soon as possible. I'm always reminded of the story of the prodigal son because it's the perfect parable, meaning today we'll say prodigal child. You're established in the kingdom. You're the heir to everything. And you get off in the, to the distant, the far country, and you make lots of interesting choices. And then you realize, and at home, things were much better. So in the story, the child turns to the father, and the father comes rushing to the child. We're established in that same kind of kingdom. We have everything. Everything you want, the kingdom is at hand. The realm, the spiritual realm is here. The kingdom, all the good you're ever looking for is right here. And it's accessible and it's available. What we do with affirmative prayer is we create avenues in mind. That's a line I learned from David Walker, who is a past president of religious science. He said, when we do affirmative prayer, we're creating avenues in mind. We need to keep remembering that we have access, that we're born into this kingdom. We have access to it. From the Course in Miracles, there's another saying, which is, miracles are natural. In other words, when we're coming from a place of connection, where we know who we are and what we are, our life will flow. We'll be seeing the good. We won't be focused on the trouble. But so for us to have that type of life where we have all these demonstrations, it requires us to be connected and to stay connected. And we know that we don't stay connected. For those of you who attend a gathering like this and you keep coming back and you do other work too, meaning, we're very good. We meet 3 times a week. But the thing is, we need daily reminders, right? Most of us anyway. I know I do. And daily reminders might be that you learn how to do some meditation, or you learn how to do some journaling, or you work with some affirmations. Affirmations are very simple. You find the ones that work the best for you. You write them down, you put them in places where you'll see them and be reminded. You learn to take pauses and take a time out or several timeouts throughout the day. You keep on reminding yourself all is well. You keep on reminding yourself that you're supplied and supported. We're not, so this is a new thought approach. We're not, mystics living in monasteries, or we're not ascetics. We are, as Raymond Charles Barker, our founder, said, today's people living very busy lives of today. That being said, how do we keep this awareness of who we are? How do we keep the awareness that we are spiritual beings first? How do we keep that alive in us? So my suggestion is, in one word, practice. Okay, now my practice might be different than your practice, and your practice might be different than mine, and I don't think there's any right or wrong way. I do think being a part of our gatherings is a very good idea. First of all, because I'm focused. I've been teaching this a long time. I'm going to keep reminding you of how great you are, that you are 1 in a billion, and that, everything in life is working for your good. And that's my vocation. That's what I'm here to do, is keep reminding everybody. And as I'm reminding you, I'm reminding myself. And during the week, find your way. Develop a vision. Figure out who you've come here to be. We're here to learn how to express life in bigger ways, always. We're here to create our lives in terms of greater freedom. Find the places where we get ourselves tied up. Find ourselves wherever we feel constricted or restricted. Those are the places that really probably need a look. So in terms of our teaching, again, we call ourselves practitioners. Whether you have a license or not doesn't even slightly matter. What matters is you begin wherever you are and start practicing. What do you practice? You practice knowing that you are a part of this divine thing, this energy, and you practice seeing it in every area of your life. Our way, again, is a practice. Now, it can be described in different ways. Louise Hay was a metaphysical student, and again, she was part of this transcendental movement. So our practice is to look past all the apparent conditions. We acknowledge the reality, and we're not saying that the conditions are not there, but we look past them. We look to a greater truth, a spiritual reality, the truth of God, if you prefer to think of it that way. Louise Hay understood what we may call the law of mind. It's also called the law of correspondence. She understood that life reflects your understanding. So life is always going to reflect your consciousness. My consciousness is going to be a certain way, and my life is going to reflect my consciousness. Your consciousness might be entirely different, and it's going to reflect your consciousness. Louise knew about power. She knew that we potentially had the power to heal our lives if we could learn how to develop our consciousness. And the only way that could happen would be through some type of self-realization, meaning waking up that whatever that thing is that this divine energy, this creative intelligence, whatever it is, you have it within you. Raymond Charles Barker, our founder, would say, you're the whole bit. You have the ability to see it, to live from that connected place. You have the ability to heal your life. You have the ability to transform and heal all kinds of things in your life. So when I talk about self-realization, I'm talking about we're here to wake up to realize that you're one with this creative intelligence. And you're here to realize it, who and what you are. So we're here to understand that we're one with this source, we're one with this energy, and that's the best kept secret of the age. You don't have to look in the churches, you don't have to go up to the mountains, you don't have to make, you don't have to go anywhere. You just have to be still and know that it's there and cultivate it. I was taught through Emerson that the universe is always wooing us. It's always there, attempting to get our attention. Whatever the Father has, we have. The power is not external. We're the whole bit. And that's true of every single person in the world, every person on the planet, and every country and every place. We have the ability, if we live in this teaching, if we live with this connection, we have the ability then to see the good, to see the divine in everything and everyone. Here's the thing. It's up to you. It's entirely up to you. You'll hear me often say, in any type of situation, I could see the good in this, I could see the peace in this. You have the power to see anything and everything through an affirmative lens. So you can talk about ain't it awful, and you can just turn on that news station and let it go, and you could just find 100 people to agree with you, because the masses tend to veer towards the negative anyway. But it's an exceptional person through history who pulls back, reflects, and realizes I live and move and have my being in a spiritual reality. And I don't have to buy into any of that stuff. I don't have to buy into recessions and wars and arguments. I could see peace instead. You certainly have the ability to learn to be an unflappable person who's centered and has a greater sense of spiritual realization. So if you want that kind of life, where you see peace, you can have it. There's a expression from the Course in Miracles that I love, which is the peace of God is my one goal, my purpose, my function, and my life. Any of the mystics of old, any of the New Thought teachers would be moving in that direction, because people are doing what people are going to do. People are doing what people have always done. And you can get yourself very, very upset, or you can make a choice. So when you come into this teaching, you're looking to be empowered. You're looking to understand that everything is spiritual without exception. And you're coming to understand that life is unfolding perfectly at all times and all places. That doesn't suggest that we have to like it. It doesn't suggest that it isn't at times miserable. It's not saying that at all. But the way we approach this teaching is with a certain reverence. We know that just as we are perfectly unfolding, all of you have been through a lot, I know. I've been through a great deal myself. We're all stronger for what we have been through. We're able to, as we look back on our life, I remember from the book, The Celestine Prophecy, the suggestion is to take the long view. And you look back and you think, oh my goodness, I've been through a lot. And some of the things you never thought you'd really get through or possibly even survive, but you did. And you're here and you're much stronger for it. Life, we come to the planet Earth as we're spiritual beings, and we're having human experiences. And we're here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to evolve. So it doesn't mean it's always going to be pleasant. It doesn't mean it has always been pleasant. But all of us are here and we've grown. And we're together and we're here celebrating life. And, we're celebrating knowing that all is well. Ernest Holmes said, suffering is not God ordained. And Bill Wilson, about the same time, within a few years, said misery is optional. So those are ideas that I paid attention to for a long time. Suffering is not God ordained. I've listened to people throughout my life ask questions like, how could God let this happen? Or how could God let that happen? And the problem with this type of thinking is that people think that there's something outside. They think there's something outside of themselves that's punishing them or punishing people and creating havoc in the world. And when you get really involved with metaphysics and with self-healing, you're going to come to realize that there's nothing outside of you that's doing anything to anyone. In this teaching, we learn that we have this amazing ability to look at everything in our lives from a different vantage point. We realize that everything around us has a spiritual dimension, without exception. Life has a plan, and it's unfolding just the way it's meant to, everywhere and all the time. Now, we all know that change can be tough, and none of us like pain or suffering. And sometimes we wonder why, bad things happen if there's a loving force. The issue here is that some people think, again, there's something outside of themselves that's causing this to happen. But as we get into this teaching, we realize that there is nothing outside of ourselves. There's nothing external controlling ourselves. We realize that we are the ones that are shaping our own experiences. Life reflects what's in our consciousness. Louise would say it's all very simple. What I give out comes back to me. We understand in religious science that there's a powerful force for good in the universe, and it's evolving through all of us. Just as we have grown, the collective is expanding and growing too. It may not be happening as quickly as any of us want, but it's nonetheless, you just look at your own life and you can see the progress you've made. And if you look around, and you can study and you can realize life is in fact moving forward. It doesn't always give us exactly what we want when we want it. And I know that's upsetting to people. It has its own timing and its priorities. You can imagine if everybody got exactly what they wanted when they wanted. It doesn't work that way. Life is unfolding with great intelligence. So we can influence our own reality by taking what Louise called the positive approach, the affirmative approach to life, knowing, though, the universe has its own plan. It might help you to think of it a bit like a dance between what we wish for and what the universe knows is best for us. Louise Hay, like many of the wise before, concluded, she would say, I trust in the process. And so that's what I'm asking you to consider today too for yourself. Rather than getting yourself upset about everything, try on Louise Hay's affirmation, I trust in the process of life. So I guess I'll throw out the question to the audience. Are you trusting in the process of life? Because that's what Louise is asking for us to do. Religious science students will learn the phrase, perfect place, perfect time, all the time. We learn that we live, we move, we have our being in this divine substance. So you're always in it. The thing what we want to do is we want to be awake, and we want to realize that I'm one with it. And if you can awaken yourself to the truth, you're going to feel supplied and supported. So again, doing your spiritual practice daily, more often, tuning in with us if you can, anything you can do to help keep yourself aware, because you're always connected anyway, but the thing is we forget that. Remembering and forgetting, it's the game that we play according to Louise Hay. And all of us, I think, know that's true. When we are aware of our connection, then life is okay. Life is good, because we're going to see the beauty and the good in everything and everyone and all the time. So that's what we want to become committed to, is knowing that all is well. We want to trust spirit. We want to trust life. And I think most of us want to learn how to take this spiritual approach, this affirmative approach. Louise Hay's work struck a chord and changed the entire New Thought movement. With Louise Hay, everyone thought that she was going to become the next religious science leader, perhaps the president of the movement or something like that. But that isn't what she had in mind. She loved the teaching, and she went to amplify the message in her own way. And people didn't really understand her. It reminds me a little bit of Ernest Holmes. He didn't understand the power of what he was doing either. Ernest never intended to develop churches of religious science. The people around him, wanted him to, they wanted the teaching to survive, and he wanted the teaching to survive also. The idea of churches were not really the ideas of Ernest Holmes. What Ernest Holmes was wanting people to have is really very similar to what Louise Hay was talking about. Ernest was wanting us to have a direct experience of the divine. Ernest was wanting us to, each and every one of us, know that this thing that we're looking for is within us. So it's interesting, all these years later, as many of the churches have folded and closed throughout the country, the teaching is doing what Ernest Holmes thought. He said there will come a time and a place where there'll be great interest in the teaching. And he wasn't concerned with buildings, not at all. And Louise Hay wasn't either. She was telling us deep at the center of our being, there's an infinite well of love. And she was teaching us how it works. And that was what Ernest Holmes wanted as well. So here we are, a big virtual community that's growing by leaps and bounds. And every week we start with ourselves. We start with asking ourselves some basic questions like, what has it been like being us this week? What has our consciousness been like? What has that inner dialogue been? Has it been creative? Has it been life-giving? Has it been forgiving? Has it been encouraging? Are you a lifter? Have you been a lifter this week? Have you been kind to yourself? Have you been kind to others? Because what we're learning here in our teaching, in our group, is everything's about you and your consciousness. So we do our work in mind, we do our work in consciousness. Louise would say, when you really, really love yourself, everything in your life begins to work. It's such a simple statement, but it's so very true. Anybody can be critical, and anybody can be judgmental, and most people are both critical and judgmental. And how does that work out for anybody? I'm thrilled that you're all here. We come together each week we support each other in truth. In our present time, Louise Hay's work is just as significant. When she wrote the book, it seems like we've all been through a lot in recent years. Many of us have gone through, we've all been through COVID. The world seems to have been upended in different ways. In all of Louise Hay's work, there's an emphasis on shifting our thinking patterns. And perhaps it's more important now than ever. Or perhaps it's time for us to dig in and just reinforce what we once were taught. We've been through a lot together, this group. We've been through COVID, we've been post-COVID. The center has been through tough times and good times and in-between times. But every week, once at least during the COVID years and 3 times now, we come together to remember and to keep remembering and keep practicing. Keep on practicing knowing that we're one with the one. And keep remembering, as within, so without. So keep remembering that we're creating our lives by means of our thinking and our thinking and our consciousness. If we let ourselves sink into the negativity, it takes an awful lot to get ourselves out of it. I can tell you, I've been there before myself. If you indulge that stuff too much, I hope you have a very good support system, to lift you back up, because the easiest thing, of course, to do is to stay in the center and keep, do some maintenance work on yourself. That was one of the gifts of the 12-step programs, as I remember. There's people who used to go to meetings often, and those are the ones who seem to make it. There used to be an expression, meeting makers make it. And the reason behind that is, if you stay in the discussion about here, like say every Thursday we meet, if you're in the discussion about maintaining a positive dialogue, Louise Hay called it taking the positive approach or the affirmative approach. If you're in that discussion weekly or bi-weekly or as often as you can, it'll stay with you. Because if you get too busy, you'll find that you might be tuning in to us in the year 2026 or something. So I'm hoping everybody just stays with it. That's my wish for everyone. Because the world is slanted towards negativity, and it's slanted towards reacting and reaction. When you're really working this teaching, you do everything you can do to step out of the negative stuff. That's our practice. If you learn how to do affirmative prayer, which we talk about and we teach, if you were to go to the glossary, Ernest Holmes would say under the section of treatment, the time, the effort, the time, the art, and the method of ridding this negation, he called it, negativity, from our consciousness, so that you can appreciate that you're living and moving in this divine substance. So when you're doing your affirmative prayers, you're doing with your affirmations, you're building up your consciousness, you're assuming a virtue, you're You're training yourself to see the God, the good that's here in you, operating through you, and in fact is in everything, everywhere, and all the time. Now that's a high calling, because people are going to say, well, get real. Can't you see that the world's going to hell? Can't you see this and can't you see that? And the thing is, you could do what they're doing if you want to, but you know, you're going to be terrorizing yourself with all of that. We do our work in consciousness. Years ago, you've heard me talk about it before, when I was studying psychology, Pascal's wager, which is a French philosopher, mathematician. The idea is, you know, see the good. Keep challenging yourself to see the good. And people said, well, what if Pascal was wrong? Well, the thing is, if you assume the virtue, you see the good, and that's your practice, you're going to be openly rewarded with good friends, improved health, better circumstances, because life is going to reflect your consciousness. It's as simple as that. We need to take the time to get rid of what Ernest Holmes called the negation, so we can experience the beauty or the kingdom that's really here. You can't experience the peace of God and the beauty and the joy if your mind is muddled with negativity and endless negative stories. When we have a very low opinion of ourselves, our self-esteem is, if we feel really bad about ourselves, and we're always being critical of ourselves and others, all that negativity and critical judgment is just being projected into the world, and it just comes back at you instantly. Louise would say, just, you know, she, in her book, you know, she would have us pay attention to the word should. And the idea is, you know, where you're judgmental, you know, get a handle on that. Release the need to judge. Release the need to criticize. Try to understand that everybody's in the right place at the right time, doing the best they can with what they know. So this evening segment, it was to focus on some of these ideas. The idea is, maybe you didn't get the best parenting in the world, but Louise would say that you got. Even if your parenting wasn't that good as you grew up, she would suggest that you had enough good parenting to get yourself to here tonight for this class. So this class is focused on us learning to love ourselves and in some ways reparent ourselves, learning to give ourselves, you know, high five, you know, giving ourselves, you know, look, good job, looking in the mirror and saying, I love, accept, and approve of you exactly as you are. Finding the way to find the language to tell yourself, you know, all is well. You know, we're always at a turning point. And I remember that phrase, we stand at a turning point. So it can start today. It's never too late to start your day over. Raymond Charles Barker said, yesterday ended last night. So it's never too late to reparent ourselves and start nurturing ourselves. It's never too late to rewrite our story either. For many of us, we have beliefs that were passed down to us as kids, and I know I had to challenge a lot of them over the years. Louise Hay taught us that we have the power to change these beliefs. She suggested we start a nurturing, positive inner dialogue, and we can then heal and transform a lot of the wounds of our past. The process of reparenting ourselves is about giving ourselves more love, more validation, much more than maybe we received earlier in life. Some of you might think it's silly work, but the more of you, I've experienced, the more of you who really get with it and start, you know, doing some mirror work or, you know, embracing affirmations, you're going to start to feel better. And then your life is going to start to reflect this changed consciousness. We've done a lot of critical thinking. We've been criticizing ourselves a long time, and it doesn't seem to work out very well for us. If you stay with it, you're going to be amazed before you're halfway through. Each and every step we take towards changing our thoughts in a positive direction will pay huge dividends. Louise Hay's work is a testament to the incredible power that we have as people to engage with affirmative thinking. It reminds us that no matter how rough it's been, that we have the capability to shape a better and more optimistic future. So sometimes we have to give ourselves a lot of loving messages. You might have, for example, had a childhood where you were given a lot of negative messages for one reason or another. All of us seem to have got some things. Negative messages about yourself, maybe it was in relation to a sister or brother. Negative messages perhaps about people, places, or things. Most people were programmed with one thing or another, and some of it wasn't the best. Some of you might have even been told that there's nothing good that's ever going to happen to you, or that you're not good enough, or some of you really got some things that were pretty rough messages. And all of that is a bunch of nonsense, and unfortunately it does shape the way we go forward as children. But the thing that I mentioned earlier in the lesson is, Louise said at one point, no matter how rough it was, you got enough and you've been through enough that you're here now and you're in a new thought gathering and you're learning that you can take charge of your life, you can heal your life. So give yourself, congratulations, for your journey. You've grown, we've all grown, we've all been through quite a bit. We've been through a lot together and we've been through a lot on our own, but now we're in a place where we can all be together and we can be reminded and we can lighten our load. Ernest Holmes always talked about the dead wood, or he really called it the ancient corpses that we carry around. And what he's referring to is all the judgments that we have about people. And that stems from our belief systems that we acquired when we're children. It's like we have these strong opinions about who's right, who's wrong, what's right, what's wrong. And we carry a lot of stuff into the present moment. So what we want to learn to do is release it. Release it and let it go ASAP, as soon as possible. Wherever you notice that there's a grudge or an ancient hurt or a resentment, forgive it as fast as you can, because the thing is, you all know by now, if you're on this call, that it's only hurting you. So be the first to forgive. Not because you're so wonderful in the sense that you want to forgive because you want to be free of it yourself. Also because you do understand that the people that you've been upset with, you're not condoning bad behavior. You just realize this person is where they are. They're doing the best they can with what they've got. It's unfortunate for them, but that's where they're at. That's not where you're at. You yourself want to be free and you want to be happy. The universe's will, I was told 43 years ago, and I believe it, the universe's will for you is to be happy, joyous, and free. All of the universe is conspiring for you to live your life in terms of greater freedom, said Emerson. And, so let's work to lighten the load. If we have attachments, and attachment's the idea, I have to have it this way, or you have to have a person be a certain way. Let go of that stuff, please. Just let it go. Let people be who they want to be. Quit trying to change people. Raymond Charles Barker, his wonderful talk, How to Change People, will lead you to the conclusion you can't. So don't try. Louise Hay would say we're each 100% responsible for our life experience. The question always on Thursday before I turn this microphone over to Jimmy and the audience is, what has it been like being you? What are you doing to take care of you? What's the dialogue been with the most important person in the world, which is you? Have you been loving and good to yourself? And as you do that, then have you been extending it to other people? And if you haven't, okay. So what's your commitment to yourself? What's it going to be for this week going forward? We begin again. I would suggest stay tuned, because we're going to keep reminding you that your life is unfolding. Everything's in divine order, and you have the ability to heal and transform your life, and all is truly well. So I think I'll end it there. We'll see you on the other side of the break. I look forward to hearing all your comments. I read every one of them, and I really love hearing how so many of you are embracing the teaching. So it's great to be with you. Thank you.